of our lives. We had in the 20th century, we had this big fight of economic and political systems. We had communism versus socialism versus capitalism. And the core of these systems that we have lived with our whole life is work. So all these systems are centered around the concept of work, working, the worker, and so on. And not only political systems, also our religious ideas are very strongly influenced by work. If you look at the 7 deadly sins, you will read that sloth is one of them. So idleness, not working, is actually against at least the Protestant view of the world order. Max Weber put that in his work on the Protestant ethic and capitalism. He described that the work ethic is the foundation of capitalism. Interestingly, this has not always been like this. If you read older texts, sloth was not among the deadly sins. It was acedia, so if you don't use your talents, that would be a sin against the creation, but not just plain idleness. What has to do? What does this have to do with the machines? I would like to make the following postulate. There is no physical task in which a human can outperform a robot. This is not true at the moment, but this is true in principle, unless someone comes up with one instantly. I don't think there will be in the future a task that a robot cannot, a physical task, that a robot cannot do better than a human. Just because we can spend arbitrary amount of time optimizing the robot for a certain task. We cannot spend arbitrary amount of time to optimize a human for a certain task. Also, once we have trained one, we would have to then make him train others, and this is all very complicated, and then the people get old and they die, and it's all not very effective or efficient. And of course, there's this limitations. We have only 10 fingers, for example, or we have 2 eyes. It's also not very helpful, and we can only see a very small amount of the light spectrum. Of course, we have enhanced all these capabilities, physical and mental capabilities, by machines. But even though there's an ongoing enhancement, augmentation of our capabilities, the reason that we can focus work of many people on creating a robot to do a certain thing, I think that this statement holds true in the near future. What does it mean? If you look at this curve, which is the numbers of calculations that I can do per 1,000 US dollars over time, we see that these machines will not only be able to do better than humans, but at one point they will also be able to do it cheaper. And the result of this development is that everything that can possibly be automated Everything that can possibly be automated will be. And I did not see that on the internet first. I walked on the street and saw it. So these things are real. But they still need a human to then take it and put it into the bread, but take the meat and put it into the bread, but it's just a matter of time. You see, the humans, they steal, and then they're probably lazy, or they're late, or they get pregnant, or whatever. So, all these physical tasks can be and probably will be automated, and now you can cry out that this is the Luddite fallacy, and we have seen that people have been telling this story for centuries, but almost centuries. The difference is the Luddites were fighting against this old type of machine, some machine that merely augments our capabilities. Now we have a new type of machine, something that is not so closely linked to us. What will remain to do? People think that the only job left, for example, the former Secretary of Labor under the Clinton administration, he says that the only jobs left will be what he calls symbolic analysts, people that think instead of people that do something with their hands. Now the question is this a problem? Is it Friday or is it Sunday? Do we have to work? Do we want to work? Or are we happy with idleness? If you look at paintings pre-Luther, you see that the medieval ideal of heaven was pure idleness. Heaven was Sunday. Sunday was sloth, like doing nothing. Instead of, or the opposite was hell with lots of work. And people were actually dreaming of being idle. The question is, what stays left to do? What can we do if work is not a necessity? I mean, there are arguably some really shitty jobs that no one wants to do, but there are also kind of nice jobs. What if there is no necessity to work? History knows situations like this. Feudalism, there were people that didn't have to work. But it's kind of only fun if you have people that you can kind of rule over. Max Weber, when he wrote the Protestant work ethic, about the Protestant work ethic, his example for the perfect working spirit was the working rules in monasteries. This pray and work, ora et labora. But if you think about it, these people do not really work. They entertain themselves, but they don't have to work. All these monasteries were, most of these monasteries were extremely rich. So they were working, but not in the true sense of work for assuring their livelihood. Can we use this model and transfer it to our modern times? Do we want to go back to either this medieval idleness, this ideal of Sunday as the perfect lifestyle? Or do we want to do something different? And I think what we see here today is sort of one answer, and one answer that I would like to see talked about more. We definitely need new political concepts, new